Remember when you were a kid and you would go to the beach and you'd be all excited to go to the beach? So you get to the beach, you go into the water and you start having fun. You start swimming around, whatever. And then you come out of the water and you start rubbing your eyes because they have, salt water in them, whatever. And you finally get them to a point where you can start to open them. So you open them, and then right in that second, you just whack. This wave hits you in the back of the head and you go right down into the water again, just face plant into the water. And you tumble in the waves and the sand and everything. So then you finally stand up and and you have the salt water all up in your face and your nose and everything. You're wiping your eyes, but now you've smeared your sunscreen all in your eyes and your eyes are just stinging and you're just like, "Argh," freaking out. Well, you finally get it, to a point where you can open your eyes again, and then whack, another wave hits you from behind. And it just kind of continues like that until you finally just want to get out of the water, because what's the point? It's just stupid. And it's just like your timing is off. No matter what you do, you're just hitting every bad moment. It's like, hitting every red light on the way to somewhere. That's how I have felt for the last 2 weeks or so. I'm out in the water and I'm getting hit with these waves. I'm not getting eaten by sharks or anything. I'm not drowning. So, nothing is that bad. But I just feel like everything I do, I just keep getting hit in the back of the head with a giant wave. And the salt water is in my eyes. And the sunscreen is stinging. So that's where I'm at. Or where I've been for the past 2 weeks or so.
All right.
So what I figure we will do, or this is what me and Mike talked about. Figure I will talk through a couple issues that I seem to be having, and Michael will drop some wisdom bombs and solve everything for me.
Yep. Exactly like that. That's how we'll do it.
Yeah. So I don't really know where to start.
Okay. Well, you gave us this nice visual for anyone who has been at the beach. I think we can all relate. I've lived through that exact experience. You brought it to life very vividly. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Is it in this allegory where you're being hit by waves and stuff, are there distinct things happening, or is it more that you just feel like you are kind of missing the mark on everything you're putting your mind to? What are the waves? What is actually going on?
Okay, well, it seems... Okay, let me jump back a few weeks. Remember, at the beginning of the year, one of my main goals this year was to do another obstacle course race. The Spartan or Savage or whatever. Well, I plan on doing 2 this year, and I did the first one a couple weeks ago. And so I'd been training for that for, 3-4 months or whatever, and I do it. And it was disappointingly easy. It was frustratingly easy. And I don't mean that, I was so incredible that it was just so easy. I mean, the course itself was just kind of, it was like, that's it? That's all?
Okay.
And so it had this weird effect of, man, what's the point of even training? Like, why am I working out? Why am I doing any of this? I don't know. It had this weird effect. It didn't feel like, oh my God, I just succeeded this, or, I just did this big challenging thing and I came through successfully or whatever, triumphantly. It was, oh, that's it. So after doing that, I just kind of felt the motivation died off, which was weird. I didn't expect this kind of effect, but all of a sudden I didn't really feel like working out or doing anything. And so it started with, I'll just take the next week off. And then it was kind of, man, I don't know. It killed all motivation. And because of that, and I feel like I've actually gotten this part sort of back under control, but who cares? Because of that, it seemed like everything just sort of lifted off the ground. Remember talking about the anti-gravity thing? Well, it's like I hit this was a long time ago. I don't even remember what it was in reference to, but it's like I hit the anti-gravity switch on all the routines and all the goals and all this mindset stuff that I had, and it just started floating. And I started losing my place to where, of course, I'm staying up too late. I'm sleeping in. I can't just everything just started to shift a bit. And so I think all of this kind of started with that. I don't know if I could pinpoint it to that, but it seemed to happen around the same time. So that's one thing. But the second thing is sort of the one that I wanted to bring up, because this sent me into a little depression spiral. So I have this class, the life drawing class, every week. So every Wednesday in the middle of the week, after work, at 6:30, we go to this life drawing class, which is, the model poses, you draw them, they change pose, you draw them again, and you do that for 3 hours after work. And then you get home really late. But it's a lot of fun. It's been very challenging, and I've been, practicing and kind of learning things, whatever. I've had some weeks where I feel like I've done really well, and then other weeks are not so good, but, I've kept this overall feeling of, I don't care if it's good or bad. I'm just going to go and enjoy it. And I've been saying that over and over. Anyway, a couple weeks ago, I practiced throughout the whole week. I'm, practicing my figure drawing, learning stuff, whatever. And I feel really good about it. I feel so ready for class on Wednesday. So we go to class, and, I practice in the mornings, and it just felt really good. I felt very ready. And then we go to class after work, and we get there, and my brain is like hot with all of these the thoughts and stressors, and I don't know, I can't relax, and I'm hungry. I'm really hungry, and I'm exhausted, and I'm frustrated, and I'm angry, and I don't even really feel like being there. And so I start drawing, and of course it sucks. And we keep going, and it just gets worse and worse. And it was by far the worst night I think I've had there ever. And so after that, it just felt, in contrast to the little race thing that I did, it was weird. It was like, what's the point of practicing? What's the point of doing any of this stuff? Because none of it matters. And it was just... And I kept telling myself, previous you would say it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Well, I couldn't help it, and it just sucked, and I hated every moment of it, and I couldn't get over it. Like, I can't just emotionally be like, no, it's fine, I don't care, I'm better than that. Well, I guess I'm not better than that. And yeah, it just really sucked. And the week after that sucked too, which was the last week or the week before. Whatever. You get the idea. Yeah. It was, and I think that what happened was, and maybe now we can kind of start getting into what actually might be going on, but I think what happened was the timing of it. Like, I was exhausted and feeling awful, and then I go do this thing, and of course I do bad because I can't hardly think at all. And, I wouldn't expect good results in any other aspect of my life if the timing was bad. I wouldn't drink 8 cups of coffee and get all hyped up and be super energetic and then expect myself to be able to fall asleep in 2 seconds. Like there are some things that your body has to be ready for in order to do them. But okay, I guess before we get into this, this is one example, one small example, but I feel like everything in the last few weeks is suffering from the same thing. It's that I've just been going and going and going. I wake up a little bit too late after not sleeping well. I drive an hour to work. I get to work, and then when I get to work, I feel stressed out because I had a crappy morning. And then I have a bad day at work, and then I'm exhausted, and then I get home, and then I try to do the things that I didn't do in the morning, and then those suck too, and then I end up staying up late because I feel like I haven't done anything in the day. all stuff that we've talked about before, but
Yeah.
it's just one thing after another. I never have any time to just sit and think and relax and feel the way that I should feel. And so what's been happening is, you know how, if you sit and check your phone all day long, or, get on the internet or whatever, and you're just constantly scrolling through stuff, your brain gets into this state of, it's like you're stuck in the shallow end. You can't think deeply. You can't, you can't go
Yes.
deeper than that really shallow end. Well, I haven't been spending all my time on the phone or computer or whatever, but it's happening to me anyway with just my environment and schedule. And it's not like this stuff hasn't happened before, but
Yeah.
this overarching thing seems to be happening in that my brain is sort of stuck in that exhaustion after work feeling where I can't just calm down, relax, and have fun at life drawing class. I can't just relax in the morning before work and draw stuff and just be calm. It's like everything is suffering from this overarching thing where I just can't get out of the shallow end.
Yeah.
Because it's just,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. Does that make
I
sense?
think, yeah, I think we got it. I think most of us have been there. So
Yeah. This isn't something crazy. This happens
I
all
know.
the time, but
right. Well, the question is, why did it happen? Was it inevitable, or is it just a natural thing? Is there something you could have done about it? Is there something you can do about it now? It sounds like you're still there, right?
yeah.
I mean, you
On some things, just thinking about this episode, because I knew we were going to talk about my
Yeah.
bad time recently, it's already started to help me a bit. And so I mean, it's only been a day or two since we talked, but I feel like, today wasn't so bad.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's safe
something.
to say I still feel in that same spot. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the Spartan race for a second. Because it sounds like it sort of kicked it off, at least, or was it the beginning?
Okay.
Did everyone else have an easy time with the race? Was it kind of agreed upon that it just was sort of lame, or were you just in such good shape and everybody else was a scrub that you blew past everyone?
Okay, well, I went with two other people, and they did not train for it. And so I trained for it; they didn't train for it. So the whole way going through, I'm kind of walking with them and slowing down, and so I didn't really, push myself that hard. So we kind of just took it at a leisure pace.
Yeah.
But no, I've done other races, and those were hard. And
Okay.
this one, the course itself was just way easier than I was expecting. So it was not me. I didn't train that hard, but it was just disappointing.
Okay.
I wanted more of a challenge, and it wasn't there. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there's something I think that you and I have a little bit of a disagreement on something here. We haven't really talked it out on the podcast, but I think we might have a bit of a fork in the road in terms of philosophy. So you've said several times that you feel like it's really important to bring in external pressures, create goals, and use that as a way of influencing what you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in this case, the Spartan race it's a Spartan race, right?
It wasn't Spartan, but I don't really want to say which one it was because
Okay, fine. Off-brand Spartan, whatever it was. So this was to serve that end, right? Okay, I'm going to train because this is my goal and I got to be ready for this race, right? And I totally get the logic there, but I think I have started to disagree a little bit, especially with the shift in my own training that I've been doing. So James Clear said something that really stuck with me. He was talking about that, setting goals and motivations and everything. And he was saying how, in his mind, goals don't really matter. Because if you went to a race, presumably everyone has the same goal. They're all trying to win. 5K or something. Everybody wants to win. Not everybody. that's a bad example because a lot of casual people do 5Ks. Imagine like a marathon. I don't know, the Boston Marathon, right? Everybody's goal is to run as fast as they can. Maybe that's a better example. But some people are going to do really well, and some people are going to do really poorly. Kipchoge is going to win, and then everybody else underneath that. And the thing that makes a difference isn't the goal. Everybody has the same goal. The thing that makes a difference is genetics, for one, and luck is part of it, but training, right? The only real controllable variable is the training that they do. And training, in a sense, is really just a habit, a thing that you do every day. So really, the people who do the best, it's going to come down to that daily habit of their training and how well they do in their training and how well their eating and sleeping is and that kind of stuff. So the goal is just, it's sort of a dream. It's just, it doesn't really matter in the sense that unless it influences your daily stuff, who cares? You can set whatever goal you want. I want to run a marathon in 1 second or jump to the moon, whatever you want. So I wonder if maybe this is kind of my philosophy now, because this really clicked with me in that I can have a goal to lift 1 million pounds. It doesn't matter. What matters is whether I train every day. So it sounds like you had put a lot on this goal, this event, and it wound up being not so great, whether that was the fault of the race or just not the greatest circumstance. You're with people that didn't take it as seriously as you, stuff like that. That thing kind of let you down, and then the goal was gone, and now you're left with sort of nothing. And it's this feeling of, oh, what, should I go back to training because that was lame and didn't really pay off, and I could have done it without training at all. And I wonder if I respect that mindset, being very goal oriented and goal driven, but I feel like this is a downside of it. And for me, the thing that I've been doing is I have really just been focused on trying to do training every day. And I've talked about this plenty. I've split my time between running, slow running, fast running, lifting, and I've kind of sliced that up in different ways and built out a plan. But just every day I'm doing something. And it's felt incredible because it takes the choices out of it. It's just a thing that I do. So I wake up, I do my stuff, and I go out and I train. And it feels great. And then everything is just progressing. I'm getting stronger. I'm getting faster. I'm feeling better. Just all this stuff is moving in a great direction, and it feels awesome. And now it's almost like I feel like I can slot in a goal wherever I want. I signed up for a 5K because I'm thinking I'm running, I'm training, so I'll put a 5K in here and I'll go do that on the weekend. But I'm not like, okay, now I got to train for the 5K. It's like I've been training, so no big deal. I just wonder if maybe that philosophy could work better for you.
Well, I'm
expecting you to disagree here because that is what we've disagreed about in the past. Okay.
I was trying to find a better way to say it, but yeah, I disagree. That it did work really well because it got me training almost every day. Yeah. So for 3.5, 4 months, it was great. And then it wasn't that much of a letdown, but I think it was sort of a one-off. This was just kind of a disappointing experience for me. It wasn't that bad. It was just, I don't know. I did want a little bit more out of it. I wanted a challenge, and it just wasn't that challenging. And so for the next 2 weeks after that, I did lose my goal, and therefore I sort of lost my training. And yes, that is a downside. But after that 2 weeks, I signed up for a second one, which is going to be very challenging, and I might leave that one in a stretcher. I'm not going to leave that disappointed in the same way. I don't think this one will be much tougher. And I'm kind of excited again for that. And I'm excited to do the training again all the way until November. So it does work for me. I think in this case, it was just bad planning. I think that either I should have already signed up for the second one or just looked into the race a bit more.
Yeah. Well, we can go with that then. Like if you're going to use this very distinct event goal oriented approach, which I mean, if it works, then it works, and that's great.
Well, see, this is, but I'm not that goal oriented. I'm not, because I didn't care that much about this race. I wasn't out to win. I mean, it's called a race, but I'm not actually trying to win or place or anything. I don't care about that at all. I don't even know if they do that. Like I don't care at all about that. So but yeah, the
Okay,
see,
fine.
I feel like my way of making these goals is to get me into the mindset that you have, which is you only focus on the day to day. You don't really think too
Yep.
much about the goal. You don't care that much about the end result. This one was just kind of disappointing. It wasn't like I
Okay.
care. I don't think I cared too much. It was just sort of a disappointing.
Okay, fair enough. So we'll call this one disappointing, and let's say the mistake was not planning well enough. I mean, it sounds like it is important.
Yeah.
I know you said it's not the end of the world, but whatever. You brought it up. It's a problem, so let's at least take it at face value. It sounds like it left you feeling not great. That's not what you want. I mean, no matter what, you do a big event that you train for really hard, you're supposed to feel like you accomplished something, and it doesn't sound like it happened. So failure in that
Right.
sense. So
Mm-hmm.
since to whatever degree things do revolve around this thing, this goal, this event, be careful with the event. Make sure that it's something that is going to
Yeah.
not leave you feeling that way. But okay, we can move
Yeah.
on from this the off-brand Spartan race. You'd said
Actually, that's a perfect label for it. But just last note on this.
okay.
I agree with you in that I use these goals and they work really well. Or at least this year they seem to be working really well. Except for those last one that kind of sucked when I actually did it. But I use the goals in theory, so it sets me up to have a day-to-day thing where that's all I
Yeah.
focus on. And that's what I'm really building. But I was having trouble just doing the day-to-day stuff with no goal. So
Right.
I have a goal, and then all of a sudden now I have the day-to-day stuff. So
Yeah. No,
it's
I get it.
yeah, okay.
And I think that makes a ton of sense. I'm not saying maybe our perspectives aren't all that different, but be careful about the event. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay, I do like that
Okay.
though. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I've made that same mistake several times in the past for, in some cases, kind of important things where you kind of go into it thinking, it's fine, whatever, I'll just do it with a couple friends. And then you kind of realize, no, I actually really did want to take this seriously. I I think you got to
Yeah.
respect that fact. And if you want to be a tryhard, then you just need to be a tryhard.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said beyond that, and this sounds like getting more into the real problems here, is you went to or you had prepared for the life drawing class, had sort of some expectations around that, went into it and it sucked and you didn't even feel good or even want to be there and the drawing wasn't good. And so you kind of wound up feeling crappy. Is that a good summary of that?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I was very excited about this class. I had prepared for it.
Yeah.
And I got there and I'm exhausted and I can't think straight and I'm hungry and I'm tired. And yeah, then it just sucked.
Okay. So for a while now, you've been saying that you've been feeling really good. You finished a painting that was really awesome. You just felt like you were executing pretty well. And if anything, I would say you seemed pretty excited about stuff. Really, everything
Yeah.
we talked about, there was a level of excitement and interest. You were pretty on and engaged, and you were kind of like that for a while. And then this past couple weeks, things haven't been so good, and you're describing yourself as exhausted and tired and cranky and hungry,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Generally, most of those describe me anyway, but yeah.
But to a to a higher degree than usual. You weren't at your baseline of crankiness. So I Oh, this is funny because I've been talking about how I've been working out every day and everything, but actually the past week I haven't. Very intentionally though, I took a rest week and I've just focused on like super casual stuff and meditating and walking and things like that. Um, so I was running a lot and lifting a lot. Every day the running sessions were for the slower, longer run. It was coming up on an hour and a half. It's pretty long, like an hour 20 ish. I was doing that 3 days a week. And then I was lifting. The lifting sessions are usually 45 minutes to an hour, which isn't super long, but it was fairly intense. Anyway, I'm doing this every day. And psychologically, I'm feeling amazing about it. I'm just enjoying it. I'm feeling really good. The sun kind of has come out. I'm able to run out in the sun by the river and stuff. And I'm just excited. I'm excited about progressing, all of that. And I've been doing this for quite a while. And I kept, well, especially towards the tail end of that cycle, I would go out for a run and I would come back and I would eat and kind of sit down. And everyone talks about how you exercise and your body, just it clears your head, you feel better, it helps you sleep, you just all these wonderful benefits of exercise. And I'm sitting there thinking like, man, this is so opposite for me. In my heart rate, I'll be sitting here, sitting down working in a calm, quiet room, and my heart's like 110 or like over 100 beats per minute, just pounding. And I feel hot and tired and kind of just a little bit frustrated. My sleep would be worse. I'm like, what the hell? Exercise makes your sleep bad and it makes me feel crappy and exhausted and can't do anything. This is terrible. And I'm drinking tons of water, but it's not really like, I just still feel dehydrated all the time. It just kind of sucked. So I got this. This sounds really off topic, but I promise I'll hopefully pull it back. I bought these sweat test patches. Gatorade sells them. You can buy them at like random sports stores and stuff or Amazon. And so you put it on your arm. It sort of adheres to your body. And then you go out and you run and you sweat. And it has this line that kind of shows how much you've sweat. And then it has this other line, a purple line, that shows how much sodium is in your sweat. So it's, you run for however long, you stop, and then it has this little app that you can take a picture of it, and it analyzes how much you sweat, and it asks you how hot it was and what you did, stuff like that. And then it looks at the sodium and tries to figure out what percentage of your sweat is coming out as sodium. And apparently this ranges tremendously in different people, like to a factor of 200. So somebody could have 200 times as much sodium coming out in their sweat as somebody else, right? I don't know why, just a thing. So I do this and I tested my sweat and sodium, and I didn't run for that long or even that hard. And halfway through, the sodium line was maxed out. And so the app just says, oh, you have an insane amount of sodium. And I don't even know how much, because it started leaking out of the meter and got all over my arm. I had this like purple juice running down my arm because the sodium thing had just burst and was going everywhere. Like, holy crap, I sweat out a lot of salt. And then I'm thinking, well, on top of that, I'm also doing keto, which is pretty well known for depleting you of electrolytes. When your insulin's super low, you just pee out a whole bunch and you just lose all your sodium because of, I don't know, hormones and stuff. So for one, I'm on keto, so my sodium's probably low anyway. And then I'm apparently the saltiest sweater on earth. And I mean, I can tell, like, if sweat drips into my mouth, it's like a salt lick. I mean, it just totally makes sense. And so I'm kind of doing the math, like, wow, if I go out and run, I need at least 2,000 milligrams of sodium just to get back what I did. I don't actually know how much because the meter broke and I have to go do the test again, but it's a ton. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll eat a lot of salt. So I've been putting salt in my water and putting tons of salt on my food, and I felt so much better. It was actually an insane difference. I would go out and run and come back and just feel like, holy crap, my heart is actually coming back, my heart rate's coming back down to a reasonable rate. I feel like I can relax. I can actually go to sleep and feel okay. And so I kind of did that, figured it out, and said, all right, well, even so, I still need a break. So I took a week off because I just felt I had built up so much fatigue. And so I'm looking at my resting heart rate every morning when I wake up, and it had started, right at the tail end. It was up at like 68-ish. That was my average resting heart rate in the morning. And then for a week, I've been off for a week. Every single day, it's come down by a few beats per minute every single day to where it eventually settled into the low 50s, like 52, 53. And that took about a week for that fatigue to just sort of bleed off. And I've been doing nothing. I mean, I've wanted to go out and exercise. I'm so programmed for that now that I get really like ramped up and almost anxious around exercise time every morning because it's such a habit. But I'm like, no, I'm going to rest for the week. And every day I've watched that resting heart rate come down and my heart rate variability has gone up and all that stuff. All right. I know this doesn't sound like it has anything to do with you, but I think it does. So first of all, we really never tend to appreciate this unless you have some objective way of measuring it. But fatigue builds up over time. That is a real thing that really happens. And if you have ways of measuring it, you would be able to see it. You could look at that and go, oh, wow, yeah, it really does take a long time, a week in this case, for your body to slowly relax from these things. I mean, my heart muscle is tired. All the muscles in my body are achy and I can feel, it's almost like as the days went by, I was peeling through these different layers of soreness of, oh, my legs are super sore today. And then that finally wears off enough to where I can go, oh, you know what? Actually, my knees hurt. I didn't even notice because my legs were so sore. And, oh, my lats. It's like it just took that long for that stuff to sort of unravel. And it took that long for my sympathetic nervous system to come back down. And then the salt thing, the reason why I brought that up was because there's just this thing that my body needed that I did not know about. And it seems really counterintuitive. Most people think of salt as being this bad thing you should avoid eating, but not in this case. So I just had to figure that out, and it made this tremendous difference. Now you've been excited and feeling good, but that is a high energy state. And you work 8 hours a day and you drive 2 hours a day to and from work, minus whatever else, you're probably not sleeping as much as you should. You've been very excited about all this stuff that you've been doing, the painting and, all this pursuit of art and everything. And excitement is awesome. Everybody likes excitement. That's a great feeling, but that is a high energy state. That is your body really ramped up. Like I said, for all the training I was doing, I felt awesome about it. I loved it. I am like aching to go back and do it more. But it doesn't matter that you like it or dislike it. It's still stress to your body. And then you were also training for this off-brand Spartan race, which is another load on your system. Have you heard the term allostatic load? I think that's how you say it, allostatic load?
Nope.
It's this idea, well, it's not an idea, it's this understood aspect of your body that you have a certain capacity for stress. Andy Galpin describes it like a bucket. You have a stress bucket, and you can put different things in the bucket. You could train really hard and that puts a bunch of stuff in the bucket. And then you could have a crappy boss who yells at you and makes you feel crappy, and that's more stress in the bucket. And then you could not be sleeping very much. That's more stress in the bucket. And eventually the bucket fills up and then it starts to overflow and bad things happen. Like you get tired and cranky and you can't think and your brain can't focus deeply anymore and that kind of stuff, right? That's what happens when the bucket overflows. And the point of that is that there's one bucket and exercise goes in the bucket and poor sleep goes in the bucket. All the stuff just goes in the same bucket. And you tend to think that stress is more compartmentalized. At least I assumed that it would be. Exercise is exercise. It's not stress, not in the same way that having problems in your relationship is stress, but from your body's perspective, it's pretty much the same thing. It's hormones getting activated, your sympathetic nervous system gets turned on, your heart's pounding fast, all that same, it's all the same thing, and your body just has a certain capacity for it. And with professional athletes, the way they operate, I was looking at the schedules for the Bulgarian weightlifting team back when they were amazing. And they were like dominating the world at the Olympics. Their schedule was wake up, eat, lift, eat, nap, lift, rest, eat, sleep. That was it. It was like the entire design for the weightlifting team was the only stress in your life is weightlifting. We're going to fill that bucket only with that and nothing else. Nothing else is allowed in the bucket. And that's how we make somebody a great weightlifter. The point is, for you, probably your stress bucket is overflowing. And I don't necessarily mean psychological stress, like you're seeing it as you are, oh, I'm stressed out, I'm worried, although that might be part of it. Even the excitement, even the high energy stuff, that's still a stress on the system. And you're probably hitting that point where you're crashing and the bucket is overflowing. Or maybe not crashing, but like things are not feeling good anymore. You said yourself that you can't focus deeply. You're getting the I use my phone too much effect without actually using your phone too much.
Okay, you've said a lot.
Yeah, speech over. Sorry.
No, that was great. I think. Okay. Yeah, just. Okay, you're saying that I ramped up my excitement too much when things were going really good, and I got overloaded, and I sort of imploded, and then now I'm in the aftermath of that
I mean, it might not be
implosion, right?
quite that dramatic, but
I think
yeah, I think you're very fatigued.
okay.
That's what I think.
I like what you're saying. I think you're applying it to the wrong thing. I could be totally wrong on this, so you might be completely right. But I think that when things were going, at least this is how I see it. When things were going really, really well, it felt good. And you keep calling me excited, and maybe I was a bit obnoxious on the podcast, but I wasn't that, excited, like hyper all the time. Well, maybe I did have a lot of energy, but I was very happy with how things were going. I felt really good. And on the point of you saying that it takes time for the brain to sort of adjust to things, like a long time, more than we give it credit for. I really like that because I think that fits. That's how it felt. I had gone a long time to where my brain had adjusted to being able to focus really well, really quickly. So when I go to draw, I feel good. I remember that feeling. My brain's used to it. It's natural to me now. And it feels good. Now my brain has adjusted to feeling bad and constantly stressed. To me, the stress isn't coming from me feeling good a few weeks ago, which I think you're attributing it to. But I see it as the stress is coming from my entire routines and daily practices kind of getting out of control. That's where I think it came from. Maybe.
Well, let me say a couple things on that. So, again, I'm saying stress, but I don't mean stress. I mean alertness
energy.
and high. Yeah, and typically, so there's this thing that's been pretty well studied, where if you sleep poorly, you eat poorly. Like the one causes the other, because if you deprive somebody of sleep, their decision making degrades, and I can't remember the pieces of the brain that are involved, but they use less of the good thing and more of the bad thing when they're making choices about what they eat. So they wind up eating Twinkies and donuts instead of something more.
You don't even have to say they. You can just say me or us.
Yeah.
Because,
Right.
I can back that up.
Right. So no matter what, as much as we try to build good habits and try to put them in the right places and make them easy and make them unconscious, there's never going to be a day in your life where that stuff is a given. It takes some amount of effort. And as just the sleep deprivation, I don't know if that's necessarily what's going on with you, but just that as an example, it degrades your ability to make choices. You just, however you want to frame that in your mind, your willpower gets lowered. You just are less able to make those choices. So it would make sense if you are becoming fatigued that those things start to slip, which of course makes it worse. That's just one of the amazing things about that cycle, where things start to come apart, and then not only does that generally lead to a lifestyle that's more stressful or at least less positive, but also there's that whole psychological narrative around it where you feel like things are not what they should be, and that's upsetting and sort of demotivating, and that just continues to swirl around in this mess.
Yes. Yeah, and well, that's the other thing is I can't. I keep trying to shut off the narrative. Just shut up. Just
Yeah.
don't care. Don't care if you're really bad at stuff. But I can't. I cannot stop caring,
Yeah.
and it makes it so much worse. I know that the secret is to not care if it's good or bad.
But that's not
it's
the
almost,
secret, because it doesn't work. That can't be the secret,
right?
because that's
It's
not a
not.
thing you can do.
No, and it's like you can't. It's like a backwards observation. That's not the thing you change in order to get those results.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's like when somebody isn't confident out in public and other people are like, "Oh, just, be confident."
Right. Yeah, it's
Yes. Thank you for restating the problem back to me.
you're trying to change a symptom, but the
Right.
the root
Yeah.
cause is
Well, like, of course you want to feel good and not worry about this stuff, but that's not a thing you can just switch on or off.
And it is interesting, rewind a couple weeks ago, and I feel really good. When I'm feeling really good, doing my best work, focusing on just what feels good, I don't have these thoughts of, oh, you're not good and this sucks. And, I don't
Yes.
care, which is weird because I also didn't care if it was good or not. It's like all the healthy thoughts just sort of take care of themselves when you're doing it right.
Yeah,
And then when
which
you're
is-
doing it wrong, all the bad thoughts are there. And then
Right.
if you're focusing all your energy on just getting rid of the thoughts, then it doesn't do anything because your root problem is still there.
Right. It's like the people who will say, "Oh, don't worry about money," but they always have money. No poor person has ever said that in their life. Because when everything's going great, of course you don't care. You're not worried about how things really come out, because they're coming out really good. So it's sort of easy to take that angle.
Right.
I think that you need some time away from stuff. That is my professional opinion. Yeah, I don't know if you can. Probably you can't, because I know you're coming here soon. But a little bit of time away from work, time away from personal projects and painting. I know that might hurt, but I think that's just what needs to happen. Like, you got to recover.
Yeah, this weekend, which I was really looking forward to, I got some last minute freelance that I kind of just couldn't say no to, and so I spent all of Saturday and all of Sunday just working. So it's like I can't get. I mean, that one's my fault, I guess, but I mean, it was a cool project. It was fun and it paid well,
Right.
so I don't really regret taking it. But it's like I haven't had 10 minutes, just 10 minutes to sit and just be quiet.
Yeah.
Actually, okay, that's not true. This morning and yesterday, you've been talking about I almost said medication. You've been talking about meditation, and so I'm like, you know what? That was a great era of time. Those were good times. I'm gonna give that a shot again. So yesterday morning, I wake up and I had 10 minutes. So I sit down for 10 minutes. It's like I'll just meditate for 10 minutes, And I'm thinking, okay, wait, how do you do this again? I'm just going to pay attention to the sound of my fan. I think that's how I did it before. So I sit there and I start, trying to listen to the fan, not think about anything else. And then the dog starts whining outside my door. And then they start clawing at my door. I'm just like, nope, I'm going to ignore it. And then the dog walks away. I'm like, finally, it's quiet. And then this bug, like this wasp or some kind of dirt dauber or something is in the wall behind me. It's just like drilling through the concrete. Like, okay, whatever, just focus on the fan. And then the fan starts clicking. It's just like, I don't know, it just develops some kind of click. And then I'm just thinking of the clicking. And then, so I keep trying to calm myself down. And then I'm thinking, oh no, I got to talk about this to I got to tell him, nope, shut up. Don't think like that. And then it just kind of went on like that for 10 minutes. Then the timer goes off. I'm like, well, that was fun. And so I tried it again today, and it's just the same stuff. It's like, this wasn't even environmental stuff. It was just all in my head. I can't shut my brain off. I know what at least one fix is. I need like a day or two to just relax, and I just haven't got that. So let me ask you, in an environment such as that, where you have zero time to calm down and relax, what would you do to kind of deal with that a little bit? Yeah, it's kind of hard because you know the answer. The answer is, well, don't do that. But what if you can't do that for a while?
Okay, so let me answer your question in two pieces. The first is what I want to say, and then the second part is what you want me to say. So the first thing that I want to say, you've heard about science and the experiments that they do on mice and rats and stuff, right? Where they give them heroin to see what happens, or they make them fat to see what happens, or they chop off pieces of them to see what happens. It is a rough life.
I've heard of those guys.
Yeah. So there's experiments where they like stress the hell out of the mice to see what happens. They shock them all the time, or they're like super cold and water and all kinds of things. And guess what? They die. Right. It does not end well for the mice. And I'm picturing the mouse talking to the other mouse going, well, what should you do when you don't have control? Like, it doesn't really matter. They're in a bad environment. They're going to die. So that's my answer, is you need some time off.
That's a great answer, yeah.
Yeah. So that's my answer. But if you want me to talk about what else you can do, we can try.
Sure, what the hell? Let's talk about what we could do.
All right. So
because, to a degree, humans have backed themselves into this corner. I'm not the only one. I mean, we all live in this place.
That is true.
Sit for 8-10 hours a day, every day on a computer to make money. Do that. And then,
hey, look, no,
oh my God, there's problems.
Yeah. But
so on some level, we have to come up with ways of dealing with it at the same time. I know the answer is change everything. But what if you can't change everything right now?
I mean, if they did this to 10 mice, that would suck for those 10 mice. If they did it to 1 million, it doesn't suddenly mean that, oh, well, it's 1 million mice. So what could we, right? Like, just the number doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's all of us. If it sucks, it sucks. Just reality doesn't care about whether it's common or not. All right. But that's we'll leave that
just
aside.
For the record, I agree with that.
Okay. All right.
I agree. It's bad. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So setting that aside, of your daily cycle, the 24-hour period, let's start with body, just basic body stuff. Do you think that every need is being met there? Okay, so I brought up the sodium thing, which is a weird sidetrack, but my point there was that there was something wrong with my body, and it was kind of a weird thing. It was a little bit hard to figure out, but it doesn't matter. It ended up being really important. So are you getting enough sleep? Are you getting enough food? Are things roughly in the right timeline? Like how is that aspect of things?
I know you want to ask if I'm getting enough salt, and the answer is probably not. Uh, so yeah, I'll try eating more salt. But um,
You do live
no,
in Florida, so
the weather's actually been pretty nice recently. But
for the past hour, that's nice.
right, uh, no, I do not sleep enough. And recently, one of the reasons I haven't been sleeping enough is because I end up, staying up late because during the day I'm so busy that I just want like an hour to not do anything. But it's like it's a fallacy. It's wrong because that hour sucks still because your
Yeah.
brain's just so messed up from the day. So
Yeah.
I should really stop doing that and just go to sleep. And I think that would solve so many problems. So no, I'm not getting anything I need.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I told you this was my rest week, and this was hard for me because I really want to do all the stuff I've been doing. And I made myself swear at the start to me that I was going to relax like it was my job. That was the only thing that I did this week, other than the stuff I had to do, was just relax so freaking hard every moment of this week. And it has been amazing. And it took a few days to kind of accept that of, nope, I'm not going to work on this project. I'm not going to go for an hour and a half run. I'm not going to go lift a bunch of weight. I'm going to chill. I'm going to play Doom Eternal for 7 hours today. And I did several days in a row, and it was incredible. I get the mindset. I 100% get the mindset. But you're like, no, but I have to do the thing. And you suck at it. You aren't getting anything done. You have to sleep. You have to relax. That's what you got to do. Think of it as part of your training. Part of what's going to make good art is you doing absolutely nothing for a week.
Yeah.
You got to sleep.
Well, okay. That's good. I'll try to keep that in mind. But yeah.
Okay, that's a solid commitment. You'll try to keep it in mind.
I mean, it's like I haven't even touched my art. I haven't touched it because I haven't had.
You think you'd be good at it right now?
No, I think I would suck at it right now, but I
Right.
want to go do it. To me, that sounds like a refreshing thing to go do. But
I mean, if
whatever.
if you think it is, then fine. I'm not saying it isn't, but you have to sleep more at least. I mean, I know you don't 100% believe me here, but I really think that you have a lot of accumulated fatigue and you need to relax. You at least need to sleep.
I believe you. I was looking in the mirror like yesterday and I was like, why do you look so malnourished? Why do you look so bad? Like, oh, maybe I just haven't been sleeping or I don't know. Yeah, so nope, I'm on board with that one.
And you know what usually happens when you don't sleep well and you start to get into that mode? You get sick. And then
I was sick last week, by the way. Yeah. Yeah.
Can we just acknowledge that I'm right here?
I am. I'm acknowledging your correctness here.
The fact that you got sick makes me 1,000 times even more positive here. And I mean, you're saying you can't take off of work, but then you get sick and you have to take off. So
yeah,
or you go to work and get people sick.
Right. Regardless of the activity you do when you relax, you play Doom Eternal or whatever. If I read a book or draw a picture, whatever it is, we deem it ourselves as a relaxing thing to do.
Yes.
I am on board with that. So I will try to focus on relaxing for the next week. Whatever that means, I don't know. But yeah, we'll see if I'm... Yeah.
I think it's worth thinking of relaxing in two different avenues. One is physical relaxation, So for me, it was quite literally not doing fitness stuff for a week and allowing all that accumulated fatigue to become lower, and then sleep and food and all of that stuff, like the physical aspect of letting your body relax. And you almost certainly really need sleep. So that's probably the key thing there. Uh, but also like diet and all that other stuff, like really pay attention to that. Your body needs to recover. The other part though is the brain relaxing. And it's like you said, that's more up to you what that might mean. But in my mind, it's mostly just a break from all of this stuff. There is something about stepping away, letting this stuff kind of settle down to where it's not right in the front of your brain anymore, giving yourself some time, and then coming back to it. And you just almost always see stuff in a different way. And
I like that.
whatever that means, I think that's something
Yeah.
you would need to do.
I like that.
The other
Okay.
the other thing here in terms of like trying to deal with the stressful life, um is there anything in particular that you think causes a lot of that fatigue and stress throughout like your job? Is it the drive? Is it something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's all of that. Um, and you know, I still had this job, a month ago when I was feeling great. So it's the same stuff that I'm dealing with, but it becomes a whole lot harder to handle when my routine kind of gets screwed up, or not even just routine gets screwed up. I feel kind of lost in my schedule. After the race thing, I kind of, I needed to reset my goals, or just kind of wrap my head around the 3 months again, just kind of reassess. And I just haven't done that. And so after I did the race, forget about it being, slightly disappointing or whatever. Like, I think that's sort of a bit of a red herring. Uh, I just kind of, I needed to spend some time rethinking and getting back on track, but I just kind of got lost. I got, busy doing other things. And then I just sort of got this feeling of, I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing. And then you start having to make decisions every time you do anything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, is it best to do this? Is it best to read? Is it best to work out? Is it best to run? Should I, you start having to make decisions if you don't know what you're supposed to be doing. And so I still find myself constantly having to make these decisions, and that is exhausting in itself.
Yeah.
And so it's just another thing of bad stuff. And so, yeah, there's this, I feel like up until this point in the year, I've felt very aware of what I want out of this month, out of this week, out of this next 3 months, whatever. But then recently, I just kind of lost it. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
I just lost track of the calendar. And all I really need is probably 30 minutes, an hour, or whatever, of just sitting down and thinking about that. And then things would probably start falling into place a bit more. But I sort of lost grasp of,
Do,
yeah.
do you think it's did what you were doing start to feel kind of stale, or you just weren't
No,
excited about it anymore?
well, I think that might have something to do with the race itself. It was just sort of the first chapter of this year is over, right?
Yeah.
And I was supposed to start reading the second chapter, but I didn't. I started doing other things, and then I forgot my place in the book, and
Yeah.
I forgot where the story was, and so starting chapter 2 is kind of hard. You can't do it without backtracking a little bit. That's actually exactly how it felt. Yeah.
Well, I, for some reason, all I want to talk about today is training cycles, but something that I really love about the programming that I've been doing for lifting and running and everything is these cycles where you get however many weeks. This past one was like 6 weeks, but sometimes it's as short as 3 weeks. And then you take a rest week, you recover, and then you do the next cycle. And that, I mean, it's basically what we've been doing for the month by month thing. But
that's what I did not do. I didn't see. I planned and trained up until the first, the first goal, and then what happened right after that, I wasn't real sure of. It wasn't in the plan. It wasn't. It wasn't there, so I didn't really know what to do. That's the first time the whole year that I didn't really know what to do, and because of that, I just kind of got lost. So, yeah, I should take a note from you, and maybe plan in, specifically decide not to do anything for the week after or something.
We call them deload weeks, and I genuinely think it's as important as everything else. Just you have a week where you do nothing. You just relax. And there is something physically very beneficial about that. Like I said, I can see that objectively. I see the numbers change. But beyond that, there is something psychological that happens where you get time away and you just relax and do other stuff, and just you try to calm down, and then it gives you a lot of space to where you can start to think again about the next training cycle. And so many times I'll say, I'm gonna throw this out, I want to do something new, something I've heard of, I've always wanted to try. This upcoming month, I'm going to attempt to do a technique called greasing the groove for bench press. And the basic idea is that you take a fairly, like a weight that you could do for, let's say, 10 reps. You do it for like 4 or 5 reps. So very comfortable. You're not getting anywhere close to failure. And you just do it all day, every day. Every hour or so you do a set of bench press. It sounds really weird, and I've heard of it for years now, and for whatever reason I'm like, I want to try that. That just sounds so quirky and strange, and I'm so excited about it. Tomorrow is my first day of greasing the groove for bench press, where I'm going to every hour or so run down to the basement and do a set of bench press. I'm going to do that for a month, and I'm like, it was so hard to not start doing that today, just because it's weird and probably dumb, and I'm just really excited about it. But there's something just so refreshing about that cycle, that, okay, a week of nothing, and you kind of build up some excitement for starting again, and you're able to, figure out some plan that kind of gets you excited about it, and then you do it for that cycle. And it's not something I'm committing to for the rest of my life. It's a month.
No, I mean, that's what I've been saying when things were going better. Say, do the easy, dumb thing, and that's perfect. Like, you're calling it dumb because it's not super challenging, right? It seems easy to you. Because it seems easy to you, it also seems really fun to you. Then yeah, that's the thing you should do. That's probably a different topic, but maybe it's not. Maybe that is what I should try to apply to myself as well, is let's look for easy, fun, quote unquote, dumb stuff to do. But also what's easy and dumb for you to lift would be impossible for me. So, if you view it that way,
that's not even the point. I mean, I think this is my prescription for you.
Okay.
1, quit your job. 2, sleep more.
Okay.
3, take some time off where you aren't trying to do anything. Your job for a week is to relax. I mean, just take that seriously. I am going to relax my ass off for a week. And then during that week where you have a little bit of space, think about what you are excited about. Like, what does sound fun, and something that, shuffle your schedule around again. You figure out a different way of doing things. You described this before. Like, it's like when you take your room and move all the furniture around, and then it's a whole new room, and it's kind of exciting. Like, do that. Maybe that's just what needs to happen. But figure out what you're gonna feel good about. Like with the life drawing class, you had a bad session, and that could have been all the reasons we described, fatigue and burnout, but you also been doing that for a long time. And I think when something goes on for a long time, you build up a lot of expectation. The novelty is kind of gone. There's this feeling of, oh, I did good last time, I got to do good this time, and
Right.
it shifts over time, just the mentality part of it. Whereas right at the start, you have no expectations, and it's this new experience, and
Yeah.
you know,
I definitely think that played into it. Yeah. And
yeah,
because I sort of watched myself, yep, you go through the beginning stage where you know you're going to suck, and so you expect that. And you go through a couple times of, oh, I'm learning, things are improving. And then you get a couple in a row that are good and you think, oh, I got it figured out. I'm amazing. And that's when you run into a whole lot of trouble, because then you have a bad week and then you're
right.
like, oh god, I don't even know, who am I?
Yep.
I never should have got into art. I'm too old. Yeah. There's something
Yeah.
wrong with my brain. Yeah.
Yep. All the thoughts that you thought were gone come
Yeah.
storming back.
You
Yeah.
should, you should never feel good about anything, because that means something
Yeah.
bad is about to happen.
I think I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Fe- Feeling good is like looking at the sun. Like you can't, or like thinking that you're doing well is like looking at the sun. You can't,
Yeah.
you have to be like, I think I'm doing good. Okay. Look away. Just, you can't actually stare at it, because then it burns your retinas out.
Yeah. Fun fact, I actually have a little dot in my eye from looking at the sun one time.
Do you
Still.
really?
Yeah. It's just like the little speck. But yeah, I don't know why or what happened, whatever, but I ended up looking at the sun and it burned a little speck in my eye. So yeah, it was
Wow.
like in high school or middle school or something. I don't remember, but yep. It's real small, but yeah. I notice it sometimes when I read. But yes, it is
Yeah.
exactly that.
Well, it's a good
Um
word to the children. Don't stare at the sun.
and actually, okay, so we have this problem where if you get if you start feeling good about something, it screws you up on the next thing, right?
Sure.
It gives you too much confidence, or you start seeing yourself as amazing, whatever. But you can't just tell yourself, no, don't look at the sun, or don't think about how great you are. Don't think about how good you just did, or the success you just had, whatever. Just look away. Because that doesn't work. It doesn't work to just tell yourself, shut up. Don't notice. Don't think about it. It just doesn't work. So what do you do?
Well, so I'm not saying this because I have this figured out. Okay, but I think meditation, which like I said, that's kind of my thing for this month, is I'm going to meditate every day for this month. And so
It
that's
is weird, just side note, it is weird that every time we're thinking about a new subject, that is the answer.
yeah.
Okay.
Well,
But okay,
maybe that just
because
is the answer.
if I had asked you this same question 6 months ago, you would have said the answer was, I don't know, StarCraft
Right.
or something. But sorry,
Yeah,
continue.
no, when we do this podcast, you can tell whatever I'm into because that's going to come up. The exercise, like the salt patch thing, like I haven't done
Right.
very many things in the past 2 weeks, but that's one of them, and so I was definitely going to talk about that. However, that needed to be worked in. Doom Eternal, really excited about it. Had to bring that up somehow. That's just,
Yep.
yeah. So, right, the answer must be meditation because that's what I happen to be doing right now. But acknowledging that, the the way you meditate, the idea is that you sit down or lie down and you try to keep your mind in one place, more or less. And what happens is a whole bunch of thoughts start showing up. Your mind starts to think about things and fixate on stuff. And it feels like the thing you're supposed to do is not do that. You don't think about that stuff. Don't think about this stuff. You gotta keep your mind on your breath. You gotta keep your mind on the sounds around you and so on. Right? It feels like this exercise in denial, but it's not. And anyone who has experience in meditation will tell you, like, no. the whole idea is that you focus on something. You aren't making your mind blank. You're focusing on a particular thing. And whenever you stop focusing on that thing, you recognize that you have stopped focusing and you refocus on that thing. It's simply an exercise in constantly refocusing on the right thing. So when things are working really well, typically you aren't going, "Oh man, I'm so good. This is great." It usually is the window before that happens. It's you being excited about something and your attention is fully captured by that thing. You sort of lose yourself in what you're doing and it feels good and all of that, right? The self two thing or self one. I always mix up which one is which.
Oh, I was about to tell you, but now I can't remember. I think
Right?
self one is the analytical one. I
I
think, and then
told
self
you
two,
it should have been the inner self and the outer self, but you
whatever.
said I was wrong. The inside one is in control in that moment, right? And that's the good mindset. That's where you want to be. And it's the other stuff, those intrusive thoughts or that self-absorption, whatever it is, that you start to get focused on. And it feels like it's the same thing. You go back to do another session and you're thinking, I'm really good at this. I got this figured out. I feel great. I feel confident. But that's not the mindset you were in before. It kind of, you think that it is, but it's not. That's you creating a narrative out of what happened last time. And the answer, and the reason I brought up the meditation thing, is that I think what you're trying to do there is not deny those bad thoughts. Like, no, I'm not going to think that. No, I'm not going to think that. What you're trying to do is refocus on what your mindset was when things were working well, which again was not that self-absorbed thing. So how to really do that, I don't know. That's hard.
Well,
but I think
I'm
that's
sure
that's the goal.
because you definitely dealt with this a lot when you played StarCraft. When you're competing in games or whatever, you start feeling really good about yourself, and
Yeah.
then
Oh yeah.
the next day you do awful. Yeah. Did
Yeah.
you find anything that worked for that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I have not mastered this, but typically what I would need to do, once that cycle had sort of taken me to the do really well, get overconfident, start to do poorly, keep grinding, trying to recapture that good arc, get super frustrated. Once that has sort of completed, it was take time off, just get away from the game, stop thinking about it all the time, relax, at least a week or more. And then it was, okay, I'm not about to break my personal best. I've tanked my skill rating all the way down. So why even play the game again? Why even get back to it? Like you kind of said with the race thing, you're like, what's the point? Take a while to think about, why do I even play this game? What's the point of grinding away hour after hour if I'm not having fun? And then that usually leads into, okay, well, I play it because when I'm in the right mindset, it is really fun. And it lets me do it, it's challenging and it's rewarding and so on and so forth. I think, okay, well, what do I want to do? What's exciting to me now? If I'm going to jump back in after a couple weeks off, what sounds fun? So I'll watch some pro replays. I'll try to get some ideas in my head of, ooh, that seems cool. I want to try that. I'm going to play in a different style, or I'm going to focus on this aspect of my game that I never really have before. And I just start to get excited about it again. And it's this sort of natural cycle where, once the fixated frustration wears off, that's, I have had enough time away to where that just sort of settles down, where I don't feel like I have to just go back to it to try and recapture what I've lost, that sort of gambling mentality. Once that's faded away, and then I start to think and I can see things that are exciting again, that can start to motivate me, where I start to think, yeah, I want to get back. I want to try this. This would be cool. Let's see how this works. And then I get back into the game, and that's what I'm focused on. I'm focused on some new thing or some skill that I'm trying to develop. And it's just interesting and rewarding on its own. And that usually eventually kind of it gets me playing again. I start things are usually kind of bumpy at first, but it starts to click, and then I start to play better and I start to do well, and then I'll start to rise up the ranks and I'll start to be playing really well and I'll start hitting all those famous people, and then I'll start to think that I'm really good now and everything's going awesome and I have this figured out, and then I crash and burn and then I burn out, and then yeah, and it's just over and over and over. But that's the cycle, and that's how I at least get back into it.
I don't want it to be a cycle. I just want an upward trajectory forever. That's what
Honestly, I mean, maybe it does need to be a cycle. The way it's happened is not ideal, but I wonder if I could sort of trim off the downward, awful, frustrating part of that, and just say, treat it like kind of like my training cycles for lifting. Is you push for a while, you kind of have this arc of it starts out easy, it gets harder, you build up to hopefully a new personal record, and then you take time off and you relax and you just kind of you chill for a week, and then you start again kind of lower where you're doing easier stuff and you build back up over the course of the next cycle. Maybe that's just kind of how it ought to work.
Yeah, because I think in order to do well, or to really be completely in something, you have to have this mindset of you have nothing to lose. And you can't get that if you feel really good about it, because then you feel like you have a lot to lose. So
That's true.
you have to feel like you've lost it all in order to feel like you don't have anything to lose. And only then do you actually do anything worthwhile. But that sucks.
Well, it does. But
yeah,
I mean, like with the lifting, you pick something you're aiming for, some personal best, hopefully, or at least a good lift. I'm gonna do 5 sets at this weight, and I've never lifted that weight for 5 reps at this weight. Never lifted that before. That's what you're aiming for. And it's probably 5 pounds more than you've done, maybe 10 if you're like really ambitious. It's not a lot, it's just a little bit better. And so you spend quite a while, could be a month, could be 2 months, cycling up to this weight, and then you go for it, and hopefully you get it, maybe you don't, and then you take your break, and then you drop it back down. And then you think, okay, for this cycle I'm going to go up another 5 pounds, or maybe it's only 2.5 pounds or something. And then, of course, the better you get, the less the jump is going to be. And so, I mean, some people, like some lifters that I've listened to, like world class, they're like, yeah, it took me 5 years to add 8 pounds to my bench press. Half a decade. That's where they're at, right? Like that's the amount of gains that they're getting at that level. I'm nowhere near that. But point is, it'd be awesome if you could build up and then PR and then PR again the next week and again off into infinity, but you can't. You have to like go up and then relax and go up again.
Yeah. So yeah. Go ahead.
Well, just the reason for that, the reason why you can't just build up to a super heavy lift and just lift that every week from then on is fatigue. That's the problem, is that you get too much fatigue from trying to operate at your absolute top shape. And to me, that makes sense. Even for StarCraft, which is not a physical thing, but I can get to a point where I'm playing really well. I'm beating people that I have no business beating. I'm out of my mind. I'm executing amazing. And I think that that's just the new me, and I can sustain that. But that is me, like hyper focused, feeling amazing. Everything is just totally tuned in to what I'm doing, and I can't sustain that. I never have. There's never once in the history of me playing that game where that has been able to go on for an extended period of time. And I think the mentality shifts over time where I start to get sort of, I'm good now. But also, I think it's fatiguing. My mind is 100% focused at a really high energy state, and I can't sustain that. And so I get fatigued, and then it starts to slip. Okay, same as like the lifting thing. But then, my mindset, I can't seem to get that through my head that that's a natural thing. And I'm like, no, I have to get it back. And I'm good. I know I am. And what's wrong with me? And then it goes through the cycle again.
Yeah, I think when I start doing really well on something, what happens in my brain is I start thinking, oh, this is where I'm at now. This is your default. You
Right,
are
exactly.
this good. And it's like, oh, I finally, I figured it out. This is it. I'll be like this every time. And
Right.
yeah, maybe it's better to think, oh, yeah, no, this won't last. This is temporary. It's always temporary.
Yeah. You're peaking. And that's
Yeah.
the nature of a peak, is that it's not a plateau. It's a peak.
That's frustrating, but yeah.
Well, but that
Yeah,
might just be
that's
reality.
yeah, no, that's a good way to think about it. It's simple, but
Right.
one thing I have found that helps me kind of not bypass the fall off of, but if I catch myself starting to feel really good about something, instead of dwelling on that or trying really hard not to dwell on that, I just try to get started on the next thing. And it helps to shift your mind into thinking more of problem solving and the beginning stages of something rather than the putting yourself on a pedestal.
No, I
thinking.
completely agree there. Like I think that's like the sun stare. That apparently you, I don't know if you succeeded at the sun stare or failed, but
Well, it hurt me either way.
yeah, I'm not sure which one that is.
It won. But
Well, but good effort.
I don't remember what it was or what. I don't know.
But like they, I think that success or doing really well is kind of like the sun thing. You can't stare right at it.
It's that your wings of wax, you flew too close to the sun. I'm blanking on
Icarus.
Icarus. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a little better said than just staring at the sun, but yeah.
No, I like the sun stare.
So people have been doing this for a long time. Well, okay. So to wrap things up, I stared at the sun too long and it screwed me up. uh, I don't know if that was the cause, for the class that went really bad or for, the race. It feels weird to just tie everything back to that race. I don't think it was really one event.
Sure.
But I think maybe the problem with me is that I just didn't plan for the week after. And during that week, everything just started to float away. And I just kind of lost grasp of everything. And also couple that with a really high pressure, stressful, time consuming job and
Right.
all of that and just normal stress stuff. And yeah, it's not like, I'm in a horrible place. It's just been really frustrating coming off of a sort of a winning streak for a good 2-3 months. And then it's just, oh yeah, you don't have it figured out.
Well,
Everything sucks again.
Or you do, and you. It's like there's a lot of health stuff, health science things, where you're trying to figure out what people should eat or people should do and stuff like that. And so you kind of get a lot of the basics where, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't eat junk all the time and that kind of thing. But once you get the basics covered, you kind of get to this point of, okay, well, what next? And why does this work well for some people and not others? Things like that. And so I think it was Sachin Panda who was talking about this, how we really only think he's I hope I'm not getting the name wrong, but he's a chronobiologist. Like he studies circadian rhythms and things like that. But he was saying how people really focus on a static slice of time where we're thinking about simple states of being asleep, being awake, eating this, not eating that, doing this exercise. But he wanted to think about things along a timeline, almost add another dimension of cycles and how things change over time. And so there's of course the circadian cycle. There's actually even shorter cycles. There's ultradian cycles where you have this few hour long cycle of alertness and then a drop in alertness, and it's very natural and it's observed in other animals. You can see their body temperatures kind of cycling every few hours like this. There's a circadian rhythm where the different hormones change throughout the day. In the morning you're feeling a certain way, and you have a lot of, I think you have a lot of dopamine in the morning, and then serotonin kind of happens later on, stuff like that. But there's longer cycles too, things that happen obviously around like a month cycle. Just that was kind of like the next step. Are you okay?
Yeah, I just accidentally unplugged my headphones, but
Nice. Yeah.
continue.
Surprised that doesn't happen more often. Um, the the next step for a lot of these ideas around health and science was, okay, now let's think about things chronologically along a timeline and understand how things have to change over time. It's not simply do this all the time every day. It's cycling. And I maybe that's something missing from kind of where you've been is,
Yeah.
and me too. Like it just talking through this kind of makes me think about my own habits and everything. But I think you got yourself into a really good state of mind and it lasted a while. But maybe the next thing to kind of think about is how this might need to change over time and cycle through these different phases. And I don't know. I think that might be a big part of
No,
it.
no, I think you're right. And well, it's I still agree with everything I said before about like the actual stuff that I was talking about. You
Yeah.
know, in order to do something well, you need to feel good about it. And all the stuff about second nature and self too and whatever. Everything I said, I 100% still very firmly believe it. But the issue I'm coming into now, which I wasn't really having before, I was having on and off before, but now it's way more difficult, is getting to that state of feeling good. Before it was like it was fresh and
Right.
it was right there, and so I could, I kind of knew what I had to do in order to get into that mind state and then just go. But right now it's very frustrating. I mean, I will sit down to try to do something and it's just not working, and then I get frustrated and then you know impatient, and I can't seem to get back to that good feeling. So I well, we talked about everything. I think there's a lot of different factors involved, but yeah, I don't know what I was trying to say. See, I can't even get through a single topic because
Oh, nice.
my train
That's
of thought is very short.
That was a good example to give everyone. This
Right.
little demonstration.
Yeah.
No, I really think you need some time away. Give yourself a break. Give yourself some mental space. You know, stop trying to recapture the good state right now. Give it a rest, and then think about the big picture for a while. What is the point of training for Spartan races? We're all going to die one day. Why paint pictures? Why anything? Like, go back to that and just think
Right,
about the big stuff and figure out what you find something that you're excited about again. Rethink stuff. Rethink your routines, your schedules, the way things are. Figure out what sparks joy and what you feel excited about. And then when you're ready, get back into the cycle and start pursuing those things. And don't
See,
don't obsess over the good feeling or that state of mind,
yeah,
because
yeah,
that's the wrong way to go about it. You have to kind of come at it from a side angle.
I agree. See, after talking through this, which is good, which is what I was hoping to get out of this, but you start to see, all these patterns of behaviors and be like, okay, we've seen this before. We've talked about this before. This is nothing new.
Right.
We've seen it all. Remember, we did the episode how to unfunk yourself or something. You were feeling awful. Everything was out of whack, whatever. I think you had your wedding and that kind of threw you off and whatever. You were in a state where things weren't making sense and nothing was going well. And, reflecting on all of this now, after 2 weeks or so, you're like, oh, okay, I'm in one of those things. I'm in, the unfunk or the funk state or whatever.
Yeah.
It's easy to see after looking back. But when you're in it,
Yeah.
you're not in it. You are in the previous state and you're fighting against it constantly. And you don't see yourself as being categorized as, oh, okay, you're in that thing now. It's, no, I'm in the other thing. Don't tell me otherwise. And so yeah. So I guess maybe, hopefully, this is sort of my acceptance of, oh yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
You just suck right now and that's okay. Whereas before I'm trying to fight it and, work against it. Now I have to switch gears into, okay, now you're in recovery mode, you're going to take things slow or whatever and just shift gears. But it's not so easy.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's like, the stages of grief, the anger, denial, bargaining. Just you have to go through them. Acceptance is the first moment of healing, right? You're gonna have to accept. All right, that's big. Glad we got
things
there.
have been bad, and yeah, okay, all right. Well, we've had a conversation. I've come to acceptance.
Okay, we got there just in time. 2 minutes left.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, yeah, we've all been there, and we'll be there again.
Yeah, I figured. I think I wanted to do this because I want to show that, because I've been a little too positive the last few months, and I have to balance that out with some negativity, because it starts to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, you've come back down to earth with the rest of us.
Right.
All right. Any closing thoughts? I think that's all. For me.
Yes. A closing thought. Please, God, people who listen to us, give us more stuff that you want to hear. Just let us know. Leave a comment, whatever. Send an email. Just give us things to talk about, because sometimes we don't know what to talk about. And it really helps to have some other people's suggestions. So do that
right.
if you want to hear stuff.
That was an aggressive call to action. I like it.
And nothing is too dumb, because we literally just spent the whole episode talking about my week and how it wasn't perfect. That's it. That was the topic. So help us out a bit, maybe.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Thanks. Looking forward to those suggestions. See everybody next week.